day, over 15 million members are transforming Africa. Million members empowered to learn, to create, to grow, to harvest, to lead, to dream. Equity. Karibu member.
Good afternoon. KBC Lunchtime begins right now with the news, and today being the 20th day of June 2022, it's actually World Refugee Day. We have a comprehensive bulletin lined up here for you, and also we'll be keeping tabs with what is currently happening at the moment. My name is Njue, and Lensa Odingo will be our sign language interpreter for these live newscasts. Remember, you can keep this interactive via all our social media platform as we are live. Now, straight to the news. We begin with matters graft, where the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission early Monday actually arrested former Commissioner of Lands Wilson Gashanja, former Senior Lands Officer in charge of Coast Province Zablon Mabea, as well as former Physical Planner, Ministry of Lands Jabu Salim Mohammed. The trio, who are facing charges of allegedly facilitating illegal acquisition of public land by private developers, spent close to 2 hours at the Integrity Center being questioned over a public access road in Kwale, Diani Beach, Block 1072, valued at 30 million shillings. The three, who did not speak to the media after the grilling, have been transferred to Mombasa and will be arraigned before Mombasa Law Court this afternoon. Again, that is one story that we are keeping our eyes peeled, and we will be giving you more details as soon as they are charged. Elsewhere, former National Authority for the Campaign Against Alcohol and Drug Abuse, NACADA Chairman John Mutudho, has termed the proposal by presidential candidate Professor George Wajakoya to ban farming as unworkable and illegal. Mutudho added that the proposal was far-fetched and impractical in a law-abiding country. Speaking in Naivasha, the former NACADA boss, who is eyeing the Nakuru senatorial seat, said that countries like Jamaica and Ethiopia, where bang has been legalized, are facing tough economic times. In the last couple of weeks, Wajakoya has promised to legalize bang, noting that the trade could free the country from the international loans.
If that's the case, then how come a whole province in Ethiopia, where cannabis is legalized or bang is legalized, is still suffering? Right here in our neighborhood. In fact, they are a headache to us. Those people have been involved in controlling this narcotic because they bring in tons that stuff. But are they any rich? How come Jamaica is not a superpower with all that cannabis that they have? This presidential material person should pray for me too, so that I become a senator, so that I can impeach him for mispresenting himself and giving a wrong indicator that this economy will be revamped with a narcotic substance.
From all evils, he will keep your...
And away from that, let's now drop all the way to the coast, where Coast Regional Commissioner John Elungata has called on politicians to conduct peaceful campaigns in the countdown to the August 9 general election in a bid to safeguard the country and the peace of the country. Elungata said the government is committed to ensuring a peaceful electoral process.
Speaking during a forum on election preparedness held at the Coast Regional Headquarters in Mombasa, Elungata asked the politicians to avoid politics of insults and attacks on personalities, but rather do campaigns that address issues which would bring progress to the Kenyan people.
Tungewaomba wenye magari ya uchukuzi kama matatus na mabasi wasibandike posters zao, kwa sababu kukiwa na uhasama, mwananchi anayesafiri hana hata hana habari kuhusiana na siasa zinavyoendelea, atachukuliwa vibaya.
Elungata called on politicians to conduct their campaigns during the stipulated time of between 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. and desist from extending their political activities after sunset.
Na vijana wasikubali kuingia kwa mihadarati ama kupewa pombe ama kunyweshwa vileo ndio waweze kufanya mambo ambayo yanaibisha na yanatishia watu wengine.
The government rolled out the third phase of Kazi Mtaani program, which has enlisted thousands of youth, and said the move will keep the young people engaged in meaningful activities.
And still on matters touching on the general polls, Azimio la Umoja, one Kenya lieutenants in the northern region now say the coalition will bag over 65% of votes from the region. Led by Wiper Deputy Party Leader Farah Maalim, the leaders who spoke in Garissa said the region is firmly behind Odinga's presidency, adding that the leaders will be campaigning round the clock to enhance Azimio's support in the region.
A section of leaders affiliated to Azimio la Umoja One Kenya from the eastern region now say the coalition bag over 60% of the over 400,000 registered voters in the region. Led by Wiper Deputy Party Leader Farah Maalim, the leaders expressed optimism that the coalition win majority of the seat in northeastern.
Na hii kura hii itashindwa na Azimio, na president atakuwa ni Raila Odinga, na deputy president atakuwa ni Martha Karua, na chief minister ambaye atakuwa prime minister atakuwa Kalonzo Musyoka. na hii itakuwa serikali ambayo tutaunda sisi, mimi Bara Maalim nikiwa mmoja wao.
Maalim, who was speaking in Garissa town during a meeting that brought together all 9 sub-clans of Aulihan community to endorse Nasir Mohamed Dolal as the sole candidate for the Garissa Township parliamentary seat, further urged the residents to maintain peace.
Ile nataka niwaambie, hii hapana mambo ya ukoo, hapana mambo ya clanism, hapana mambo ya ukabila. Ni kila Mkenya ambaye mkazi wa Garissa na ambaye amechukua kura yake Garissa Township ampigie kura huyu ndugu yetu na hakikishe kwamba tunampeleka bunge na atalete mabadiliko. Atakuwa kijana chipukizi.
The region has become a battleground for the 2 leading presidential aspirants, with Deputy President William Ruto being the latest to hold town hall meeting and rallies in the expansive region 2 weeks ago. Raila Odinga is also expected to embark on a tour of the region this week.
Now, in the wake of rising COVID-19 cases, Health CS Mutahi Kagwe is currently addressing the media at Afya House right here in the capital Nairobi. Let's first of all listen in.
With majority being managed under home-based care and isolation. We, however, know that the steady increase in new infections is likely to get worse in view of the drop in temperatures occasioned by the current season. And I think it is important for us to appreciate that we are faced by a number of challenges that are going to affect these numbers. The first one is that we are in a political season where everybody is out there in the open, many gatherings continuously at all times. The second situation, of course, the weather and the temperatures that we are experiencing during this influenza period. The third one that we are experiencing as a challenge is also the slow uptick of vaccination rates that we have, up from over 300,000 per day down to about 12,000 per day, and now likely dropping to about 5,000 per day. So we expect a rise in the number of cases of respiratory diseases during this period. Indeed, 3 out of the 8 influenza surveillance sites, namely Kakuma, Kenyatta National Hospital, and Nakuru, are reporting an increase in the number of flu cases. We expect to have a lot of more colds and flus with similar presentations like COVID-19. Therefore, there is need for all those with respiratory like illnesses to seek appropriate medical care and be tested for COVID-19 to inform proper management. The ministry advises the public to take measures that I'm going to ask the Director General to speak to when I give him the opportunity to do so. Ladies and gentlemen, with regard to vaccinations against COVID-19, the ministry has managed to vaccinate as follows. Vaccination status above 18 years old is as follows. Some 8,578,000 are fully vaccinated. Some 2.4 million are partially vaccinated. Some 404,000 have had booster doses administered. 31.5% is the proportion of adults fully vaccinated. Vaccinations of persons between 15 and 18 years old is 1.5 million doses administered, 820,000 partially vaccinated, and 340,000 fully vaccinated. Regrettably, as I mentioned earlier, the vaccination rate has dropped. And this is an area of concern because the statistics we are holding at the moment, with about 77 persons currently hospitalized in hospitals, but the evidence we have is that most of the ones in hospitals are persons who have not been vaccinated. A lot of the positive cases we have of persons who have been vaccinated are essentially presenting mild symptoms. So the solution, ladies and gentlemen, is number one, we need to revise our vaccination rates. Kenyans are advised to get vaccinated. Those who have not been vaccinated should do so immediately. Those who have been vaccinated and need a booster shot should take the booster shots immediately. And we appreciate that mask wearing is also part of the measures that we are supposed to be. And we explained earlier that the measures that we took at the time that we did them was as a result of the fact that we had gone down. But with regard to wearing of face masks, the mandatory wearing of face masks in open public spaces, where one is not in close proximity with another person, remains optional. However, one is required to wear a mask when in contact with other people in close confined spaces such as PSVs, aircrafts, offices, supermarkets, marketplaces, and places of worship. All persons, indoor meetings to continue at full capacity of the venue, but provided that people take measures to be fully vaccinated in order to do so. And all attendees are required when indoors to be wearing masks. We have seen situations, for example, in political indoor meetings, where we are getting super spreading at a very fast rate, as you have seen for yourselves. So citizens are urged, Kenyans are urged to ensure that they wear masks and are fully vaccinated who are to attend those meetings that are town hall meetings. We are not restricting the in-person worship, and we shall continue to do so in full capacity. Again, as long as all the congregants and worshippers are also fully vaccinated. We also require worshippers to wear their face masks while inside the places of worship. All international travelers arriving into the country and who are fully vaccinated are exempt from the requirements of a PCR test and are exempt from quarantine upon arrival in the country. All unvaccinated travelers arriving at any port of entry into Kenya for whatever reason are required to be in possession of a negative PCR test results conducted not more than 72 hours before departure, regardless of the route of entry. You appreciate that the reason why that particular clause exists is because sometimes, especially in the walk-in boundaries, it is possible that a person can walk in without being fully vaccinated. Otherwise, on flights from overseas and elsewhere, it's very clear that no traveler is to come into the country until they are fully vaccinated and fully boosted. Unvaccinated travelers arriving at any point of entry will be subjected to a rapid antigen test at their own cost. Any person who tests positive to an antigen test is subjected to entry to a PCR test at their own further cost, and a self-isolate again, according to our guidelines, at their own further costs. All passenger services, as in vehicles, trains, and domestic air services, will continue operations at full conveyancing capacity. I'm urging county health departments to scale up their surveillance efforts and to be on the lookout for any increase in cases presenting with like flu symptoms and ensure they get tested for COVID-19. The ministry has adequate rapid antigen test kits for distribution to all counties. Counties are also urged to revamp their isolation facilities and secure adequate supplies of PPEs, and particularly prepare with oxygen supplies as part of preparedness to manage any surge of cases. I also make an appeal to the political class in this campaign period to urge their supporters to get vaccinated against COVID-19 and to wear masks during political rallies. Kenyans are also urged to exercise personal responsibility while attending the rallies. Remember, rallies might be important, politics is important, but there is nothing that is more important than your life. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to thank the media for continuously sensitizing Kenyans on the COVID-19 containment measures. As I conclude, I would like to make a passionate appeal to all Kenyans. Please join us in this campaign to ensure that many people are vaccinated. We would like to vaccinate all adult population by the end of this year, which is a target that we have already missed because of the slow uptick. We were supposed to have finished it by June of this year. This is the only way to protect ourselves, our families, and the community at large, because the vaccines are safe, effective, and available. I thank you. I would like, before you ask questions, I would like to give this opportunity to Dr. Amoth to address the issue of what to do if for you to prevent yourself from getting vaccinated, from getting sick.
Thank you, Honorable CS. Kenya has two flu seasons. The first season starts usually from March and lasts until May. Then the second flu season starts from around July and lasts till October, November. But you've seen the cold season has come earlier this time than is usually the case. And the best way to ensure that we are protected from getting flu, common cold, or any other respiratory tract infection, one is that if you have flu-like symptoms, please stay at home. Don't go to work and expose other people, because flu, common cold, COVID, like other respiratory tract infections, are highly transmissible. Number two, you need to keep warm, dress warmly. I can see most of you are dressed warmly to avoid triggering flu-like situation. Avoid crowded places and gatherings. Keep hydrated. Take plenty of fluids, water, tea, uji, or whichever beverage of choice you choose. You exercise regularly, because regular exercise leads to release of various substances that act against inflammation. You need to maintain hand and body hygiene. Wash hands frequently with running water and soap, or use sanitizers. Also, eat a healthy, balanced diet, especially one rich in fruits and vegetables, especially the green leafy vegetables, because they contain antioxidants which enhance our immunity. And of course, despite doing all this, if you happen to get a respiratory tract infection, the next course of action, of course, is to seek medical advice from a qualified medical service provider or facility, and then you'll be able to get the correct treatment and advice. In a nutshell, those are the measures that we can take at individual level. And I know Kenyans love ginger and honey and lemon during this season. Please go ahead. Those are rich in antioxidants and will help protect and increase your immunity, such that even if you get a common cold or flu or COVID, then it's likely to be milder. But above all, of course, to be able to protect you further is to go for vaccination, because the vaccines are available, they are safe, they are robustly tested, and they will protect you from getting severe COVID-19 situation. For those who are immunocompromised, those who are elderly, those who have coexisting medical conditions, on top, of course, of the COVID-19 vaccine, there's also the flu or influenza vaccine that you can be able to take. So far, the influenza vaccine is not part of the routine immunization services. But we are working with other partners to ensure that it will be part of the routine immunization antigens delivered to our people, especially those who are at risk. Thank you.
Santeni, thank you very much, Dr. Amoth.
That's a live feed from Afia House here in the county of Nairobi, the HQ of the Ministry of Health there. Mutai Kagwe, CS for Health, they are flanked by the DG for Public Health, that is Patrick Amoth there. In a nutshell, is that new cases have been reported and there's a steady increase there occasioned by the weather and also by the low uptake of the COVID-19 vaccinations. And there they're taking us through some of the things that you're supposed to do, including if you have flu-like symptoms, you stay at home, you keep warm, take lots of fluids, eat a healthy budget, and also exercise. And as they have said, is that if symptoms persist, consult a doctor. We'll have a much comprehensive report in our subsequent bulletin. Well, let's now cross over to matters politics now, where Kakamega Governor Wycliffe Oparanya has launched the Western Region campaigns for Azimio presidential candidate Raila Odinga. Oparanya, who unveiled the campaigns at his Mabole, backyard, declared that he has hit the ground running and will reach out to voters in all the counties in the region to enhance and to ensure that Odinga garners majority of the votes.
Oparanya said that he's out to get massive support for the Azimio team, including presidency and other candidates vying for various positions. He says this is the best chance for Odinga to clinch presidency and asked residents of the region to support his bid.
Ndio nilisema nije leo tuanzie hapa. And Waluya hatutaki turudi nyuma. Tuwe karibu na serikali. Na serikali ni wasi, hiyo serikali ni ya Raila Amolo Odinga.
The Kakamega governor faulted a section of Luhya political leaders for dividing the community's votes.
Na mimi nataka nyinyi wote sasa ni wakati wa Waluhya kuenda mbele. Waluhya miaka zijazo watoe president wa nchi hii.
His sentiments were reiterated by Lugari MP Ayub Savula and Kakamega Women Representative Elsie Mohanda, who also backed the Raila presidency, vowing to ensure he clinches the top seat.
Upigie leo simu Raila Amolo Odinga, watengeneze kamati kuanzia leo, the assumption of office, preparation ya swearing in ya Raila Amolo Odinga kama rais wa 5 wa Jamhuri ya Kenya.
Kwa hivyo mimi namuuliza watu wangu, president wa Kenya mwenye anajali Waluhya ni nani? Si ni Raila Amolo Odinga?
And still on matters politics, we are keeping a keen eye on the Kenya Kwanza campaign trail, and we have our very own JJ Kuria, who is camping at Njue, where the Kenya Kwanza Brigade is currently having its day with the electorate. JJ, what can you tell us?
Ben Troy, thank you very much. We're joining you from Njue constituency in Nakuru County. The live town hall meeting of the Kenya Kwanza team led by Ruto. They're already that dome and the meeting is underway, but in the meantime we've been locked out of that meeting for reasons only known to the team, and they've said once they're done with their deliberations inside there, then they will call the media to be part of a meeting. But so far we are not part of a meeting. The deliberations ongoing there. Residents from Nakuru County, all of them gathered there, led by the UDA leadership in the county, that is Senator Susan Kihika and her team, as well as Deputy President William Ruto and the Kenya Kwanza luminaries leading the economic deliberations of this county. Remember, on the 30th, the Kenya Kwanza team will launch its manifesto, and this is probably one of the last meetings, economic meetings that they will be holding across the country, because the team promises that these economic proposals emanating from these meetings will form a charter under which Kenya Kwanza will sign charters with each and every county, and then these proposals will also become captured in their manifesto, and that is what is happening here. So there's not much happening. Quite a number of residents have made their way here because the meeting started off at around 12, and there are hundreds of them in the dome tent, but all of them here to listen and elucidate the economic proposals for the county of Nakuru, and that will form the Nakuru County Economic Charter that will be signed by Deputy President William Ruto as the luminary or the presidential candidate of Kenya Kwanza, and after which then they will be able to launch their manifesto capturing all the proposals in here. And this is the only meeting slated for Nakuru County today, unless the Deputy President changes schedule. This is his first and last meeting in Nakuru County, unless he will do other campaign stopovers around the county. But that's just it. Once we have been addressed by the leaders, we will be compiling comprehensive stories for our viewers at 7 p.m. and 9 p.m. But for now, back to you, Bentro. Njue.
Thank you so much, JJ Kioria, live from Njoro, where, as he has alluded to, is that UDA have continued with their economic forums, and this time round they are in Njoro, where the Deputy President is leading the Kenya Kwanza Brigade. And something that I've been able to pick up is that in the economic forums, they will be signing a charter that will also be enshrined in the Kenya Kwanza manifesto, which we expect any time by the end, perhaps by end of this month or by the beginning of July. Well, thank you, JJ, for that report, and we will be crossing over as soon as they allow the media in. Remember, it's a closed door meeting. The media have been kept at bay, but we will be following keenly on that. Very well, we are due for our first break, but allow me to appreciate Nick Odor. You're watching from Ruiru, and Ken Peter Wabwira, you say you're watching live from Webuye. Thank you so much. Keep it tuned. I'll be back with more news.
Do you have a news story to share with KBC? Get in touch swiftly on email news@kbc.co.ke or call 0723-892-654 or 0734-780-124.
I arranged a great marriage for him, the kind other men dream of. And he wants to break it off.
If this is what you insist on, all I could do is take my own life.
You want to die for her?
Samuel has truly messed up. It won't be long till the whole world knows he wants to break off the engagement.
I couldn't care less if he breaks it off. Why would it matter?
I hope I'm not intruding. I'm just passing through. I'm Ferna from Green Hill. Show some respect.
Elliot!
Kwani hii kichwa yako imeruka? Kocha, ni maneno napewa. Mimi niko ulimwengu ya hewani. Kuna siku msungu asa kuproposia hata kama ni ukuoa hata kama kwa ndoto.
Inyi iko na guacamole.
Nasileti.
Omera, I'll slap you about.
Nasileti.
Sisi nimetoka kwa mbali. Alafu nikichukua kama 8 hivi nishikanishe hivi alafu tutano kando sinakuwa samaki kubwa.
Kumbe hapa tunakuwa tumepangiwa kwa malishwa. Hiyo utakuwa na mesa hivi inakatalia hivi unaenda
Welcome back, and we really appreciate you tuning in. Moving on, a House Help Association held peaceful demonstrations in Nairobi to demand better working conditions for domestic workers. Yaya Mwema Association, encompassing over 3,000 members countrywide, also wants salary increments for its members, citing the high cost of living. The association also wants the government to intervene against the alleged mistreatment of Kenyan house helps in the Middle East countries, as well as regulating recruitment agencies. The association at the same time urged employers to allow domestic workers to exercise their democratic rights during the August 9th general election.
Most of the parents, they don't get even time with their kids. They are the one who are advising these kids. So hao watu wanateswa, lakini ni watu muhimu, kiungo muhimu sana. Hao venye tumeongelea wamesoma. Venye wamesoma, wengine hata wako university wako hapa. Wengine wako form 4, wengine wako different level of education. Hawa watu wanafaa wakuwe pia wapewe nafasi during the week yenye anaenda akanoko office ili ajiendeleze.
Hawa wasichana wanakula kwa kitchen ama wanakula wamalize au ndio watakula after hao wamemaliza. Umeona? Na hiyo si poa. Na ni binadamu kama wao.
Even us, we need respect. Most of us tuko na watoto. Sisi ni wazazi pia. Na ile tabia ambazo zinafanyika kwa hizo nyumba, alafu mtu anakuambia unyamaze ama ukienda kuripoti it is not happening. So we need justice for that.
Challenge moja ambayo tunapitia kwa hizi nyumba ni mshahara ni kidogo sana. Sababu kuu ya mimi kusema mshahara ni kidogo, unaweza enda kwa nyumba umeambiwa unakuja kufanyia 6,000. Unapofika kwa ile nyumba unapata watoto ni 4, mama ako kwa ile nyumba, baba ako kwa ile nyumba, kulala ni saa 6 ya usiku, kuamka ni saa 10 ya usiku.
Tunaomba bwana Wafula Chebukati na government yenye iko sahihi, muhakikishe kwamba msichana wa nyumba apewe nafasi ya kwenda kupiga kura, sababu ikifika tarehe 9 mwezi wa 8 hii mwaka apewe nafasi aende apige kura, sababu ni haki yake.
Moving on, fear has gripped residents of Ganze sub-county in Kilifi County following increased cases of rogue elephants terrorizing villagers. The elephants have reportedly disrupted the residents' daily activities, including learning in schools, as the wildlife invade the institutions during the day. Residents and leaders are now calling on the Kenya Wildlife Service to move in fast and relocate the elephants.
It is believed that the elephants are trailing their long-time migratory routes from the Tsavo National Park to Arabuko Sokoke Forest along the areas that have now become human settlements. The government authorities are, however, blaming the locals for staying out late, particularly those burning charcoal, which is affecting the relocation exercise by the Kenya Wildlife Services. Ganze Member of Parliament Teddy Mwambire said the situation has now become worse, making it difficult for parents and the general public to go and look for daily bread. Speaking at Vitengeni Baptist Secondary School in his constituency after officially opening a modern dormitory and laboratory, Mwambire said learning has also been affected as students and teachers are forced to get to school late and leave early to avoid getting into contact with the elephants.
Ni ombi kwa zile ofisi husika kuhakikisha kwamba angalau hawa wanyama wanaangaziwa, wawe wametulia zile sehemu zao ambazo wanatakana wakae mbali na kutatiza masomo kwetu madarasani.
Ganze Deputy County Commissioner Louis Rono said they held a meeting with chiefs and directed them to ensure people do not stay in the forest areas, especially those who burn charcoal late in the night, thus endangering their lives.
Watoto wengi wanapanda miti juu na wametembea na wameweka mawe kwa eti ili warushie ndovu. Miti kwa ndovu ni kitu kubwa. So muhakikishe kwamba maaskari wa KWS wamekaa hapa na hakuna kazi wanafanya kwa vile hiyo ndovu inatakana isukumwe mpaka Tsavo.
Ganze Sub-County Director of Education Rashid Mjimba said the elephants have affected learning as the movement of people is limited.
Kama KWS wanaweza angalia njia ya kuregesha hawa ndovu kule kwa park na sisi tuendelee na maisha yetu vizuri, itakuwa ni jambo bora.
Beatrice Gatonyingetich, Lunchtime News.
Elsewhere, Eastern Region Commissioner Evans Achoki has assured the locals that the Thwake multi-purpose dam project work was still in progress. The administrator who led the Eastern Region Development Tour to tour the National Government Development Project in Makueni County inspected, among others, Thwake multi-purpose dam. Achoki confirmed that the project will be done in a few months and will act as a source of irrigation to farmers, hydrogenation, and a source of drinking water to the locals.
Looking forward for the completion of this project so that they can benefit from drinking water, from water for irrigation, from hydrogeneration, and also opening up of this area.
Now, residents of Kirie location in Mbere, North Sub-County in Embu County have benefited from a free medical camp organized by the area member of parliament. The patients were examined and treated for various ailments such as cervical, breast and prostate cancer, hypertension and eye problems, among others.
Hundreds of patients who turned up for the one-day camp were examined and treated for various diseases by various specialists at the event held at area ACC's offices. Other services offered included immunization for children, nutrition and family planning. Margaret Mombi and Anisi Angari, who were among the beneficiaries, said the initiative was timely owing to the hard economic times that had been compounded by the health workers' strike.
Matibabu huku inakuanga mbaya kabisa, maana hakuna ndawa. Saa ingine ukienda hosi hata madaktari hakuna, unapata unashinda hapo the whole day, unaenda leo, ikifika saa 10 unarundi, tena kesho unaenda, unaweza enda hata siku 3 kabla hujapata matibabu.
According to the area MP Muriuki Njagagwa, who organized the free medical camp, the situation was so bad that many children born in the last 2 weeks had not received the first dose of the BCG vaccine.
Nilisikia kilio cha watu wa Kirie, wanasema madaktari wamegoma, hawajaona madaktari hapa wa kaunti kwa siku mingi. Na pia nikanongonoza na watu wa Kirie wakaniambia kuna magonjwa mbalimbali ama kadha wa kadha, ya kwanza ikiwa ni maneno ya macho na zinginezo mingi. So I organized with my good friends who are medics, and we agreed that they're going to frontier the services to come and give free medical care or attention to the people of Kirie.
Clinician and productive health specialist Mary Wanjiru, who was the head of the team of medics involved, said they attended to over 500 patients and more were still trickling at the venue at the close of the camp.
We are also having a lot of hypertensive emergencies in this region, and due to the ongoing strike in Embu County, it's an issue which needs to be addressed because we've seen a lot of people, around 100 of the people who have hypertensive diseases.
In business, investments in housing slowed in 2021, leading to a decline in house prices. The latest Kenya Bankers Association Housing Pricing Index, KBA-HPI, report shows that the decline reflects headwinds in the economy that influenced both demand and supply. House prices on average went down by 1.82% in the first quarter of 2021, overturning the marginal recovery of 0.22% recorded in the fourth quarter of the year 2020.
A report by the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics (KNBS) in 2020 revealed that developers in Nairobi are building smaller houses such as bedsitters, single rooms and one-bedroom houses to meet the demand for those house units among city residents. Within a span of 4 years, from 2015, there was an 84% increase in the number of one-bedroom units built in Nairobi. However, despite the appetite, prices have suddenly begun to decline. For example, in the second quarter of 2021, the prices softened 1.62%, 3.70% in the third quarter, and 3.99% in the fourth quarter of 2021. Kenya Bankers Association Research and Policy Director Samuel Tiriongo noted that the sharp drop in prices in 2021 reflected subdued investments that limited the rollout of new supply amidst easing demand. Over the same period, real estate sector activities expanded by 5.7% in the fourth quarter compared to 7.1% in the third quarter last year. Alan Aoko, Lunchtime News.
In other news, Kenya and Uganda have signed a bilateral agreement that will facilitate the smooth flow of fish exports from Lake Turkana in Kenya through Uganda to the Democratic Republic of Congo, DRC. The formulated framework has established a multi-agency team to design the modality of fish transportation to DRC with ease. This comes as a sigh of relief to fish traders who have been facing challenges in fish exportation.
Fishing industry contributes about 0.5% of the national GDP and about 2% of the national export earnings. According to the draft Marine Fisheries Regulations 2022 and Lake Turkana Fisheries Management Plan, Kenya will earn at least 100 billion shillings and create 240,000 jobs annually once the new regulations in the fishing industry are fully implemented. The industry has been facing major challenges during fish exportation, which has prompted various discussions between Kenya and its counterparts. The Kenya and Uganda governments have developed a framework to ensure smooth transit of the commodity from Lake Turkana to the Democratic Republic of Congo without interference. The development comes after a fish consignment of at least 300 tons of fish worth 40 million shillings destined for the Democratic Republic of Congo were confiscated by Ugandan authorities in October last year. The document formulation began on 1st March 2022 after a delegation from both Kenya and Uganda traveled to Turkana to establish the source of dry fish. Kenya and Uganda have now agreed on several issues, including setting up a multi-agency team headed by respective county commissioners of Turkana, Samburu, Marsabit and Busia for a smooth transition of fish from Lake Turkana to DRC Congo through Uganda.
We agreed on having multi-agency teams in the regions that were affected, and I'm happy that today we are culminating that process with the signing of the smooth transition and movement of fish from Kenya to DRC through Uganda. We look forward to enriching this and ensuring that our peoples can be able to move and trade and transact business without hindrances. And of course, this is for the benefit of all of us in the spirit of the East African community integration.
The framework will address the challenges that faced the Kenyan fishermen at that time. Fish traders have been urged to apply the framework and fish in a sustainable way.
We agreed to set up a framework that would enable the fishing, the exploitation, or that would enable the trade in fish, especially transit trade to the DRC, to take place without any roughness, without any interference. All the factors that have been hindering this fish trade have been taken care of.
Part of the framework calls for joint inspection of the fish consignment by both Kenya and Uganda authorities at the Busia one-stop border post before they proceed for their destination. Reporting for Lunchtime News, I am Teresa Mutai.
Across borders, climate change has caused an increase in desertification in Mauritania, leading to a significant drop in agricultural production of some regions. The risk related to erratic rains have caused negative effects on the soil in terms of gulling and degradation. Here are the details of the story and much more from across the African continent.
Rainfall barely reaches 400 millimeters, which has led to farmers working in the fall and winter seasons. A new project implemented by the UN's International Fund for Agricultural Development in Mauritania aims to make better use of scarce resources. The project will provide irrigation machinery, water tanks, pumps, seeds, fences and pipes. This will increase farm outputs to enable farmers to grow enough food to sell or eat. Politicians and experts held a meeting in Madrid to discuss ways to tackle drought and the increasing spread of deserts across the globe. Meanwhile, Sudan's wheat harvest is at risk of going to waste after the country's cash-strapped government backed out of promises to purchase it at favorable prices. The Agricultural Bank wants farmers to pay for their loans in wheat according to the encouraging price, which was set at $94. Farmers have been told to register with the bank the quantity they will supply, and the bank will determine the quantity it will take. After calculating the loans, The bank will determine how much each farmer should supply in bags or kilos over a certain period of time. Finally, the Ghana Revenue Authority is monitoring the payment of rent income taxes and will take action against defaulting landlords and property owners. Collection of tax has been automated through geospatial data software, which will enable the authority to know whether a property is being rented. The revenue should be paid within 30 days after the rent income is received. The authority has been reminding property owners to make copies of all receipts of rent tax payments for inspections by officers of the authority when need arises. Failure to pay the tax by the due date attracts 125% interest of the statutory rate compounded monthly. Charity Modhoni for Lunchtime News.
Back home, 400 workers of Keroche breweries are facing the sack this week if the dispute between the brewer and Kenya Revenue Authority is not resolved. The Naivasha-based brewer has said the closure of its operations last month by Kenya Revenue Authority has paralyzed its operations, drying its financial inflows. The company is embroiled in a tax battle with Kenya Revenue Authority over the non-remittance of taxes.
For the second time this year, the Kenya Revenue Authority has sealed the operation of Keroche breweries, halting the production of its products. The country's second biggest brewer was reopened in April this year after KRA closed its operations in March. The tax agency accuses Keroche of failing to remit billions of shillings in withholding and pay-as-you-earn taxes. However, Keroche has blamed a tough operating environment for its financial woes, pleading with KRA for more time to settle the pending taxes. Last month, the Kenya Revenue Authority descended on the brewer's premises in Naivasha, accusing it of reneging on its promise to pay 400 million shillings every month to clear the tax backlog. Today, Keroche Brewery's Chief Executive Tabitha Karanja has said she is seeking audience with KRA for more time to repay its tax debt. She says if KRA fails to reopen its premises, it will be forced to sack its 400 workers since it cannot pay them. The ensuing tax feud with KRA has crippled the financial position of the fledgling brewer. Ndusamo Kami for Lunchtime News.
Elsewhere, National Construction Authority plans to introduce the use of drones to map and monitor compliance in the construction industry. NCA Executive Director Engineer Maurice Akech says the use of technology will be critical in reducing cases of malpractices in the sector that has seen more than 200 Kenyans lose their life due to collapsing buildings. The authority has also said the shortage of building inspectors is hampering the inspection of building in the country.
According to research conducted by the National Construction Authority on the collapse of buildings, Kenya has recorded more than 100 building collapses in the last decade. In 2021 alone, more than 10 buildings collapsed in various parts of the country, killing more than 20 people. To this end, the National Construction Authority plans to employ technology to monitor construction sites. This will see the agency use drones for site mapping and inspection. NCA Executive Director Engineer Maurice Akech says the agency has prosecuted 18 people for disregarding NCA warnings and continuing construction and has so far suspended the licenses of 26 contractors. Akech says the reduced manpower at the agency has made it cumbersome for NCA inspectors to inspect the over 300,000 buildings under development in the country. He further blames the rise in collapsed buildings to lack of coordination among players in the construction sector, adding that regulation is not a singular task and NCA plays a coordinating role working with other agencies to ensure free flow of information, optimization of resource and knowledge sharing.
We did a research in 2018 which gave us, of course we may think we know why buildings are collapsing, of course we know, but scientifically we need to analyze and find out, and we came up with 6 strong points why they are collapsing, and those are some of the things we're working on. Coordination came out to be a very strong thing, which is part of our mandate.
Incompetent professionals in the counties, national government and key regulators in the building sector are also contributing factors. Akech is urging players to adhere to the building code and adopt the best practices in the industry. Caroline Jenga for Lunchtime News.
Play now. England's Matt Fitzpatrick claimed his first major title with a one-shot victory in the US Open at Brooklyn. The 27-year-old also became just the third Englishman in 52 years to win the sport's second oldest major. Fitzpatrick shot a 2-under-68 for a 6-under total to beat world number 1 Scotty Scheffler and Will Zalatoris in a gripping battle that went to the final hole. A huge turning point came on the 13th, though, when Fitzpatrick holed a 48-foot birdie put to tie Zalatoris, who made a clutch par save from 12 feet. On the 15th, Fitzpatrick moved to clear when he made a birdie and Zalatoris a bogey, but the American cut the advantage in half with a birdie on 17 after yet another laser over an iron shot. Finally, Red Bull's Max Verstappen held off a late challenge from Ferrari's Carlos Sainz to win the Canadian Grand Prix. The two started the final 15 laps nose to tail, and despite heavy pressure from Sainz, Verstappen held on to extend his championship lead. We're done with sports, so let's come back here in the country. We now cross over to the DCI, the Directorate of Criminal Investigations, where we are expecting a brief on the summon by the DCI, to Senator Johnson Sakaja in regards to his academic credentials. Kipnos, if you can hear me, kindly bring us up to speed with the latest.
A very good afternoon to you, Ben Troy Njue, there at the Broadcasting House. Yes, indeed, I'm coming to you live from the Director of Criminal Investigation headquarters at Kiambu Road, where we expect any time from now the United Democratic Alliance Nairobi gubernatorial candidate Johnson Sakaja, together with the Machakos gubernatorial candidate Wavinya Ndeti, to appear before the Director of Criminal Investigation. The question at hand, of course, is about the authenticity of their degree certificates for them to qualify to run for their respective counties. Remember, this comes just a day after the Nairobi senator was cleared by the Independent Electoral Boundaries Commission Dispute Tribunal to run for the top seat here in the county of Nairobi. Of course, the tribunal dismissed a petition filed to bar the Nairobi senator, indicating that it is not within their mandate.
Apologize for that network hitch, but that has been our very own Timothy Kipnusu there, bringing us up to speed in matters regarding the authenticity of academic credentials for Nairobi Senator Johnson Sakaja, who is vying for the gubernatorial seat, and also Wavinya Ndeti, who is seeking the Machakos County gubernatorial seat. We will be keeping a keen eye, but what we have been able to establish is that the two have not yet arrived at the DCI, and as soon as they do that, Kipnos will be bringing us up to speed with the latest from that section. Remember, they were all cleared by IEBC, and that takes us to the end of KBC Lunchtime News. Thank you so much for watching. My director, allow me just to appreciate two people here. And Jaden Wangoi, you say you're well tuned in Nairobi. Josephat Kasaingu, you also tuned. Kayla Zeko, you are well tuned from Kitengela. Nistro, say you are watching from Amalemba in Kakamega. And there's someone also watching from Keumbu in Kisii. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Ben Troy Njue, and Lensa Odingo has been our sign language interpreter for these live newscasts. Remember, www.kbc.co.ke for this news plus much more. And of course, we have our news bulletin at 4, 7, and also at 9. Have a good one.